Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. I am Chair Commissioner Krista Yoakum. To my right is Commissioner Sean Flowerday, Vice Chair. To my far right is Commissioner Roma Amundson. To my left is Commissioner Rick Vest, and to my far left, Commissioner Matt Schulte. Please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may proceed with the location announcement when you're ready, Mr. Clerk.
Location announcement of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located at the wall of the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. These materials can also be viewed at the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Brings us to item 1, minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on June 20th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. I see no discussion. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Abstain.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Item 2, claims. 2A, amendment to the payroll claims reported on June 20th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 2B, approval of the claims processed through June 27th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 2C, approval of a claim to the Mediation Center in the amount of $3,592.50.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this claim. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Abstain.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Item 3 is the consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice. Unless there is an exception, these items will be approved with one single vote of the Board of Commissioners. They are the approval of A, amendment to the following city contract C-14-0614 with the Executive Answering Service to provide telephone answering services. B, change order number 2 to county contract C-23-0044 with Votscapes Incorporated to extend the project completion date to August 1, 2023. Change order number 1 to the county contract C-23-0451 with Pavers Incorporated for a project overrun needing additional patching due to unforeseen poor shoulder conditions. D, grant contracts for the following: the Asian Community and Cultural Center for the Yazidi Youth Club program in the amount of $20,000. The Asian Community and Cultural Center for the Afghan and Ukrainian Youth Program in the amount of $20,000. And the YMCA of Lincoln for the Teen Night to Teen Time at Northeast YMCA program in the amount of $10,000.
Move approval of the consent items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 4 is the public hearing for amending the appropriations for the bridge and special road fund.
We will now open the public hearing.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Good.
All right, good morning. Dennis Meyer, County Budget and Fiscal Director. Today, this public hearing is just being held to amend the spending authority for our road and bridge fund. So, just to kind of remind everybody, June 30th is coming. That's the end of our fiscal year. So, this is part of the process of really kind of cleaning up the county budget. So, today, because this is a separate fund within the budget, we've got to hold a public hearing to actually amend the spending authority for that fund. So we're going to increase the spending authority in the road or in the bridge and special road fund by 1.5 million. We're also going to then offset that by a reduction in the highway fund of that same amount. So again, we're just getting the spending authority in the right fund. So that's what it's doing for us. Questions?
I do.
You've kept us informed up to this point, so that's good. I don't see any questions.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. So the reason we bring this forward is it's really difficult for us to forecast pricing, especially in these inflationary times. I've tried to keep the board appraised of that as we've gone through the year. Although we did have one project that came in remarkably under what our engineer's estimate is, and I am not complaining about that. I'm not complaining about that. We did have several others in the Bridge and Road Fund that came in over. And so this is not a request for additional funding, but simply a rebalancing of the maintenance, the Highway Fund, and the Bridge and Special Road Fund.
Thank you. There any questions of Pam? I don't see any. Thank you. Is there anyone further to speak on this issue? I see none. We'll now close the public hearing.
Commissioners, that brings us to new business. Item 5A is the resolution in the matter of supplementing appropriations for the previously adopted budget for the Bridge and Special Road Fund in the amount of $1,500,000.
Yeah, so this resolution is just taking that action. With the adoption of this, I'll amend the budget. I'll get the new numbers filed with the state auditor's office. We'll jump through all those hoops that we need to.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. I see no further discussion. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5B is a resolution in the matter of transferring appropriations from the general fund miscellaneous budget to various general fund agencies. The amount to be transferred is $387,000.
Okay, so this is within the general fund that we're kind of cleaning up the budget. We did a resolution probably the end of May. This one here, because we're within, about a couple, 3 days of closing out, this is kind of cleaning up the remaining amount. So we've got it budgeted within the general fund. We're just moving it in between business units or departments to make sure that each of those are within their spending authority.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions?
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5C, resolution in the matter of authorizing the county clerk to issue payments while the county board is adjourned.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. This is across the July 4th. We won't be meeting then. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5D, resolution in the matter of setting the salaries of the election commissioner and chief deputy election commissioner for the term of office starting September 7th, 2023.
I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I guess I just have a is this a recommendation by committee? How is the salary, the recommended salary come to?
Had a briefing, a staff meeting? Staff meeting. And the information was presented by the HR department by a friend from there who gave us all the appropriate information for different counties. After discussing the options, this was the salary that was agreed on by the board.
They did a salary study, I think is
Right.
the term.
Right, the salary study provided this information. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Best,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5E, resolution in the matter of adopting benefits for Lancaster County employees in the unclassified service. The resolution incorporates paid parental leave and rescinds and replaces County Resolution Number R-22-0099.
Move approval?
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I do just have a question because we also have this paid parental leave later on in the agenda. So if there's any questions related to that, should I be asking those now or should I be waiting until then?
I guess it depends on the question and how it relates.
And we start now, and if it's more appropriate later, they can be asked again.
I guess one question I have related to paid parental leave is, I believe we have some short-term disability that helps in pregnancy situations where someone leaves after having a baby specifically, and I'm just wondering how that plays out with this.
We have people here.
We'll have our HR director come forward and address that. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Good.
Our short-term disability policy does not kick in until they've been out for 3 months. So at that point is when that would become something that, oh, I'm sorry, that's long-term disability. We do not provide a short-term disability policy unless they voluntarily opt into it. There is not one that the county pays for.
Required.
But our long-term kicks in at 3 months.
Okay.
Let me get those two things squared.
That's fine. And the short-term, there is an option for people to do a short-term disability, right?
Voluntarily if they want to pay for it themselves. Most of our employees, and I can get you the stats on how many enroll in short term, most of them look at that as something that they are going to save their sick leave to help cover because we are very generous sometimes with our sick leave amounts. So if they've been here a while, they use that and have that bank. But I can get you the actual numbers of people enrolled in short-term disability, which is a voluntary program.
Totally understand that. I guess I'm just, so for those who are voluntarily participating, which whether it's large or small, I don't really know if that changes my question too much. But so if someone is taking a short-term disability, does have a short-term, has opted into short-term disability, they're now having a baby. So do they get paid by the short-term disability insurance in addition to this paid parental leave?
Any short-term disability is always offset by any kind of wages you get, so they would not be able to double dip if that's the question you're asking.
Sure.
Yeah, short-term's always going to say, what are you getting for income, and offset that.
But it might be additional leave. I mean, they could not take them simultaneously.
Usually short-term, it's income protection, so if they run out of their 6 weeks of paid parental leave, then their short-term disability income protection's going to kick in. Short-term disability isn't necessarily time off or away from work. It's to replace your income or your wages.
So that would be, you're not getting paid from here, so you're getting
Right.
paid by the insurance.
Right.
It's
You
treated,
took it, you voluntarily
Mhm.
took it out
Yeah.
on your own.
treated a little bit more like sort of AFLIS insurance
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a good analogy.
So then going back to the long-term disability, you said that kicks in after 3 months. Is that 3 months of actual not being at work period kind of thing?
I am not super knowledgeable on that because that is managed through the risk management area of the county and not through HR. So speaking towards your long-term disability policy, I just know a couple key highlights. We would need Sue to actually speak towards that since the benefit's not managed by HR.
Okay.
So I apologize, I don't know a lot of detail.
Well, and that's what I'm just trying to I understand that that's probably, hopefully, a very rare situation in which a pregnancy leads to a long-term disability claim.
We wouldn't want that, but
Right.
that could
But
happen.
should it, we would want that person to be able to to have this opportunity.
Right.
Just as any other employee that would need a long-term disability would.
That's what I was just curious about.
Any
Okay.
other questions?
Yeah, I do. So, item E then means that if we adopt this today, we have in effect placed Lancaster County unclassified employees. We have provided them with paid parental leave. This is the day that we're voting on this.
It's
and they-
unclassified and unrepresented, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought there was going to be, evidently, I misunderstood the process because it went through the Personal Policy Board and all those steps, and it's come back to us in this form.
Right.
Okay.
It also seems a little out of place for us to be approving something that has that without actually having the paid parental leave being approved. Seems a little out of order here.
The what?
Out of
This-
order because the personal
Because
policy.
this resolution
was
has
lower
paid
on the
parental
agenda.
leave, but we haven't approved the paid parental leave.
I
Oh,
do agree, it seems like this, I thought there was going to be a further review after the initial time we voted on this was just to send it through the process, get a final policy, and then examine that policy individually.
So that policy is in item G, correct? Do we want does someone want to make a motion to table this motion until after we've tended to item G?
I would move to table E, right? That's where on E.
Yeah.
Until after, we would want to table item E and F until after item G, I would imagine. Is that
Okay,
appropriate? Is that
that's
what you want to
fair,
do?
because
Well,
they
F
both
hasn't
have-
been moved yet, so we don't technically need to table that yet, but if,
Well, let's do.
Okay,
That way we don't go, we stay in order, right?
so you could move to table item E and bring up item G.
I will move to table item E.
Until,
I'll just say till the end of the agenda. Till after T, just push it back later.
I second.
we have a motion and a second to table item E until the last item on our agenda, which would be T.
yeah, so it'll effectively become item U.
Yeah, making that item U.
I'll second that.
There's
We
already
have a
second.
motion and a
Okay.
second. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Commissioners, I'll read across to item 5F now, which is the resolution in the matter of adopting benefits for deputy sheriff captains. The resolution incorporates paid parental leave and replaces and rescinds resolution number R220077.
I would move that we table that until after U.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Commissioners, item 5G, there's 6 individual components, so I'll read item 5G1, which is create the classification of youth services program coordinator.
Yeah, we did a study on this based on a change of duties that was provided to HR. Looked at, it was a hard to match with counties, but we did look at Boys Town, we looked at Health and Human Services, and the Nebraska Department of Corrections, who all had similar positions to make sure we were setting our wage and qualifications in alignment with other positions that are similar in the marketplace that we could find, and that's how we got to our recommendation here to create the Youth Services Program Coordinator at a C14.
We want to take these one at a time, or?
Probably better.
I think I think we'll have discussion on some of them separately.
Move approval of item G1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item G1. Please call the roll.
Actually, I'd like to make a comment on this real
Okay.
quick. The problem I have with the process that leads to this is when a director allows an employee to work outside of their job description and then comes to us and says, hey, now let's reclassify him. Our directors, our leadership, if someone is working outside of their job description, we need to put them back and say, this is not your job. Don't do your job until you are hired to do that portion of your job. And this has happened a couple times just in my few months on the board, but this one is very obvious based on the conversation that's been had around it. And so I think I think good leadership would make sure people are doing their job and not someone else's job. I'm gonna vote for this, but I do believe that our directors and our leaders need to provide the leadership that our employees need, because right now we've got an employee who's doing something outside of his position and he's not getting paid for it. So it's a disservice to the employee and it's a disservice to his coworkers, and so our leadership needs to make sure that people are working inside their job description. If there needs to be a new position to open up, then go through the process of opening that position and moving someone over to that position.
I actually think that's super fair. I think that's a super reasonable statement, and I have been concerned, I think, for probably a year now. I think you stated it better than I have, but I've been concerned for a year now of kind of, I don't know, job classification mission creep.
Yeah.
So I think that's super fair. I'm gonna vote for it too, but it's a, well said. That's all.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
5G1 carries 5-0. Item 5G2 is amend County Rule 1 definitions.
Yep, what we've created in the definitions is a definition of spouse. That definition of spouse, we started with how we got there is we started with what was in the FMLA federal definition of spouse, removing the common law pieces since our state does not recognize common law. But we just want to be consistent with other regulation we're required to follow, and we thought adding that definition helped create clarity around what the spousal definition is.
That makes clarity for expectations.
I'll move approval of this definition change.
Second.
Additional definition, I guess.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Item passes 5-0. 5G3 is amend County Rule 19.8, the pregnancy and parental leave to be effective August 1st, 2023.
Correct. This is, we've talked at length about this. This is to create that paid parental leave. It's a maximum of 240 hours for our full-time, 40 hours, prorated portion for our part-time. I can take questions about it if you have some. Otherwise, it is what we've discussed previously.
Yeah, we have discussed this at length, and I appreciate having had that conversation.
Absolutely.
Procedurally, what is the difference between approving this and approving what we tabled?
They're different groups of employees. So if we want paid parental leave to be extended to all of our unrepresented, we have some classified and unclassified unrepresented.
Right.
This will take care of our classified unrepresented employees.
Different rep.
The other ones will take care of our unclassified. So that is our sheriff's captains. It's our folks in the Pat Condon's area. I'm drawing a blank on the
County
department
attorney.
name. Thank you. County
We all do.
legal department. So we have some groups that the other ones,
That's,
yeah.
yeah, that's helpful. I
Yeah.
just was trying to figure out the differences between these. That's, you
So
answered it.
G3 is the general policy, and then the two that we tabled are specific groups that wouldn't have been included.
Okay.
Correct. You're absolutely correct.
I guess I would say my concern about this policy and the reason I'm gonna vote no is not that I understand this is for unclassified, we got so many other groups that are represented, that in our county, we have so many places where people work 24/7 or are on call 24/7. And I just think this creates a lot of problems for the departments, and several of those department heads have talked to me about it and are concerned about incorporating this eventually into their departments, and so I'm gonna vote no on this. I'm a strong family guy, have enjoyed 2 weeks of paid parental leave when we've had our kids, but I just think that this is going to create a lot of problems for our jails, our youth services, even our engineering, where we're having to do snow removal and stuff like that 24/7 potentially. So I'm going to vote no on this.
I don't deny that it's a hurdle for any, it's gonna be a hurdle for every department.
It is.
But you just listed 3 departments that we've struggled with recruitment in the past too. So,
Right.
you know, fundamentally, that's how I see it. And our most direct competitor for talent is the city of Lincoln, who have already adopted 6 weeks. So I'm here at 6 weeks. I think it makes sense. I'm gonna be in supportive of it.
I'm extremely supportive of it. Having worked in 24-hour facilities most of my career, and having had 4 children, I know it is a scheduling issue, but it is important when we're looking at wanting these families, and we care about our employees, we want our families to get off to a good start, as well as for recruiting and retaining employees. This is an important step for the county to take.
And I think that one of the things we need to remember is in our strategic plan that we have been working with, this is one of our core principles, and that is to become the employer of choice. So I'm in favor of it.
Any further discussion?
Well, I mean, I might as well weigh in here. You know, a lot of good arguments have been made and a lot of discussions been had about this policy, but I haven't been able to build this bridge. I don't see that the benefits outweigh the costs at this point in time. And I have recommended that we start with a provisional policy that would be shorter. Krista, you talked about 2 weeks. I just think there are options available to us rather than taking this step, which is, once we take it, will be much more difficult to undo. I would propose that we consider other alternatives before moving forward on this. And those discussions have been taking place, maybe not enough. The consequences to our departments, we have no tools to address that other than say, okay, you're short-staffed now, but go out and hire more people, because these jobs have to be filled. I'm not gonna vote. The short version is I'm not gonna vote for it either. I think there are better options available to us.
And that's fair. Commissioner Vest, and I had a conversation, I think it was Thursday, just saying, kind of talking it through. And, I really did spend some time this weekend kind of thinking about you would propose potentially a 3-week or something like that. And I've actually struggled with this one because I tried when I can to, find a middle ground with my colleagues. I think fundamentally I just don't want to fall behind the city. I mean, that's where I come at with this number. They are the greatest competitor to us for talent, and I do believe in paid parental leave. I believe that families should have that opportunity, and so I'm just in the same place.
I would just add, and to be clear, Commissioner Flowerday, you are excellent at that, quite frankly. I'm going to just say it on the record. We've disagreed so many times, neither one of us could give an accurate count.
Right. No, that's right, yeah.
And that's the way we've operated for all our time on the board, and we make our cases and then we treat each other with respect. But
fair enough.
I would say that we have time to examine the consequences too. The city has put theirs in earlier this year. It's too early to say that it's having an impact on county operations. If we take our time, we could have better information to say, yes, that is affecting county operations, or no, it's made no difference whatsoever. We hear reasons why people leave county employment. Not once have we heard paid parental leave as being the cause of their leaving our employment. So we could do here this all day, but that's, thank you for hearing me out.
This was a good discussion. We do have a motion and a second.
We
We don't have a motion.
Oh,
I
let's
thought,
not
sorry,
make-
I thought we
we could
did.
just skip that
I'll
part.
move approval. I'll move approval of G3.
Actually, what I've been thinking is that there is perhaps reason to maybe do more in-depth as a whole entire board and have all of these different considerations brought forward. What do you think?
I'm prepared to move forward with G3 today.
I think we know what a lot of the challenges are, and we will have to figure out how to deal with those challenges, but they'll be there whether we do it today or we do it in a couple of weeks.
I still say, I'm gonna repeat myself one time. I think there's wisdom in waiting and evaluating and make sure we've looked at all the options available before we make a decision of this magnitude.
Well, I have talked with department heads, and I have also talked with both you as well as Sean. I don't know for sure necessarily if I've spoken very much with you, Krista, but going back to we worked hard on the strategic plan. I will go forward and I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
No.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yeah,
Vest,
no, sorry. No.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes,
Motion carries 3-2.
this was a good discussion. Thank you.
I really do want to thank all the commissioners for the process in this and for talking about it.
Item 5G4, amend County Rule 19.12, requirements as to continuous service.
Yeah, just briefly what this is we realized our county rule wasn't necessarily, hadn't been refreshed lately. And so when someone is taking what's considered a protected leave, which is FMLA, military leave, pregnancy, anything dealing with the Pregnancy Act, we do not adjust their seniority dates because we're following those federal regulations that say do not do that. So this just brings our current practice, it reflects now the rules are being revised to bring them into compliance with the current practice.
I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5G5, create the Protected Family Leave Human Resources Policy Bulletin to be effective August 1st, 2023.
So what this does is, under the FMLA, there's this very narrow group that do not get the full 12 weeks of FMLA. And it's our spouses who happen to both work for the county, be married, and be welcoming a new child into their home. Under FMLA, they have to split that 12 weeks of leave between them. And so what we really want to do, we feel like that's really not in the spirit of how we want to support our families. Because if the spouses worked for different employers, they'd both still get that 12 weeks, right? The only reason they don't get it is because they happen to be married and both work at the county. And only in the instance of welcoming a child is it required that we split that. So this creates what's called a county protected leave and those very narrow margins to allow both of those parents welcoming that child in to have up to 12 weeks.
And this is unpaid leave, Barb.
It's
This is
unpaid,
leave that they
correct.
take. Okay. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I see no further discussion. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5G6, revise the classification of community corrections drug screening technician, A12.
Almost forgot that was on here. That is a very small change. We're removing the requirement to have a driver's license, and that's it. So really, really small change to that class.
Because driving's not required for that
Because
job?
driving is not required, you're correct. Mhm.
But other appropriate identification would be required for hiring still, correct?
Right,
Just
so when
not-
we hire you, you still have to produce the documents that are required on the I-9 that show you're legally able to work in the US. But this job, we usually only put license requirements in a position if the position is required to drive, hold a CDL, those kinds of things. Otherwise, it's not part of our standard minimum qualifications.
Good to remove any barriers to employment
Yeah,
if it's not needed.
yep.
Yeah.
Move approval of 5G6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to item 5H, a special events permit application from Dave Milnark, Nebraska Sports Council for the 2023 Cornhusker State Games Cycle Tour to be held July 29th, 2023 from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Linus Hagedorn on behalf of Dave Manerick this morning. This is Luke Mishka. First, we'd just like to say thank you for your steadfast support of Nebraska Sports Council events over the years. This coming year will be the 39th annual Cornhusker State Games. We are July 6th through the 30th this year. And again, we are well over 70 events and expecting 10,000 participants. And because I know you guys are all interested in participating, you can simply go to cornhuskerstategames.com to register.
We are so interested.
This may be, I believe this year may be the first year my husband has not made the Cornhusker State Games.
Okay,
He'll be
well,
traveling.
So
When his
now,
tournament- yeah.
as you guys, as you know, we're like 4 weekends now, so there's got to be a weekend. That's
Well,
it.
his specific sport.
Don't make me go into my spiel. So we're here today to talk about the cycle tour. The cycle tour will be on Saturday, July 29th. As you know, the cycle tour is a non-competitive bicycling event. We have 4 different distances, 7.5 mile, 25, 50, and 85 mile bike ride with routes for each one of those. I just wanted to say before I have Luke step up and answer any of your logistic questions that for us, safety is first and foremost. So we are prepared to do whatever the Department of Roads engineers ask us to do. We have a pulse on the Department of Road construction plans, and we are set up so that if we have to make a last minute change to any of our routes, we can communicate that with participants. And we have all the SAG stops and the signage prepared to handle any amount of participants. With that, I'll have Luke step up if you guys have any questions.
I have a question about the maps. This is just there's solid lines and dotted lines. It kind of looks to me like the dotted lines is where we're on a path versus the road. Is that
That's correct. Yep. Those are just bike trails where we kind of cut off and then cut back onto the road.
Okay.
We've got somebody here from the Department of Engineering to
John
speak
Berry,
to this as
Lancaster
well.
County Engineering. Yes, on the map, the dotted lines are generally, Larry hates the word minimum maintenance, but they're dirt roads. So that they're aware that if it's a rain condition or something like that, there may be some issues with that. So
Okay.
that is generally what those are.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
The only other comment I have, in our comments, you'll see that we did request a signing plan. They did provide that.
Very good.
I looked at it this morning. It appears to meet everything good. Generally, they're very easy to work with. If we have a request, they take care of it. This event's been going on for quite a few years, and they do a great job.
Oh,
Well, they've had a tremendous history, very successful one.
it's so easy just to show up on the day of the event and say, oh, isn't this great? We got a route, and we just go through it. And it's so important to have people like yourself doing all the groundwork and getting all these things organized to protect the riders, to protect the public, and just to provide issues that add to our community and to the quality of life so many people.
And
We
generally,
appreciate-
generally the route that you see isn't their first
Right.
request. It's a combination of going back and forth, whether we have culverts that are closed or roads that are, so it's really a joint effort, and they do a great job responding to any requests that we have.
And we appreciate, John, you guys' ongoing support of event. It's one more thing that we ask the engineering department to do, and so thank you for being there for folks like this. But just a great event. Thank you for all that you do. I move approval.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. This collaboration is good for the county and good for the state. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes,
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 5I, an interlocal agreement with the Regional Behavioral Health Authority, Region 5 Systems, for the Lancaster County Mental Health Crisis Center to provide crisis stabilization services for individuals in emergency protective custody from other counties in the Region 5 service area. Region 5 will pay the county $208 per day for each individual.
Morning.
morning.
Scott Etherton at the Mental Health Crisis Center. This contract is pretty much unchanged from last year. It's an ongoing contract that's been in place for a number of years. Any questions about this one?
I see none.
I move approval.
You move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5J, a memorandum of understanding with Region 5 Systems allowing Lancaster County to receive a one-time behavioral health workforce stabilization grant in the amount of $303,162.44. These funds will be used to support activities with the purposes of hiring and retaining staff at the Mental Health Crisis Center.
This is a grant that's coming through DHHS and down through Region 5. It came out probably last week, and they pretty much, what they did was they took the amount that is budgeted to us on a yearly basis and had a percentage and said, we want to give all the agencies that contract with the regions a percentage of what you budget, and in order to try to retain and hire staff and such. And so that's what this agreement is. It's what, a little over 300,000. I can't remember exactly. You want to add anything right now?
I just wanted to add, good morning, Candace Behrens from the County Attorney's Office. This is a grant. We know what the amount may be. There are still some things that Mr. Etherton will need to fill out in terms of grant requirements for goals and strategies. He has to submit that by July 10. And there are still some unanswered questions with regard to any other strings that are attached to this grant, because it is to assist the Crisis Center with filling vacancies and maintaining a good staff, for filling vacancies and retention, that's the word I'm looking for. So because we have some questions with that, because we have a low vacancy rate right now with the Lancaster County Mental Health Crisis Center. So we want to make sure that we'd be able to fulfill all those strings that may be attached to the grant. So what you would really be doing today is you'd be accepting that grant or authorizing Mr. Etherton to complete that process if he feels that we can meet all those strings. Does that make sense?
Thank you. So we're really authorizing him to move forward with this
Correct.
process. We're not authorizing.
Well,
we are
you will be
accepting this
signing a memorandum
Okay.
of understanding, and so you'll be signing that agreement. But the agreement also says that we'll submit this documentation by July 10. If we don't submit that documentation, then we're not going to get the grant.
From our standpoint, a simple move approval though works. We don't
Correct.
need-
Right.
Doesn't have to be contingent upon
No,
15th. okay.
because the memorandum of understanding has that contingency baked into it.
And
But I just wanted you to be aware.
Okay.
we're empowering Director Etherton to maybe not submit it if we don't feel it's appropriate.
Correct.
Got it.
That makes sense.
We did have a network provider meeting yesterday in which we did, the network providers, including myself, we did discuss this grant and tried to determine if there were any other strings attached to it and such. And as far as the region knows, after consulting again with DHHS, it is very open-ended for using in whatever manner you would like to, and there does not appear to be a recourse for them to come back and say, hey, we want money back if you don't meet those measures also. But that's what was discussed yesterday, and the region's opinion on that was that there weren't any strings attached that they were aware of at that point in time. But I will have to look through it and submit things, and I think I can do that in a manner that would meet the requirements, but I will consult with Candace in regards to that, and that will be the final decision then.
Very good.
Okay, I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5K, an agreement with the Administrative Office of Courts and Probation, AOCP, for administration of the Lancaster County Adult Drug Court. AOCP will pay the county $493,678 for the services.
Land and Parks Community Corrections, standard biennial contract of reimbursements from the AOC to, for our drug court officers' staffing pay. I don't believe anything's changed, but here to answer any questions.
When you say standard, this is the same amount? Or?
Same amount. I don't believe, I think that amount was last changed in 2013, actually, so something that we'd probably want to look at moving forward, but.
Okay. Would move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5L, agreement with the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services, NDCS, to allow NDCS to purchase a medical device from Lancaster County Department of Corrections. NDCS will pay the county's full purchase price of $4,687.13.
Morning again, Candace Behrens from the County Attorney's Office. As the agenda says, it's an agreement that Department of Corrections is going to buy a device that our department, Lancaster County Department of Corrections, has. They're paying the same price that we paid for it. Linked to the reason I'm standing here is linked to the agenda as a draft agreement that hadn't been signed by the Department of Corrections, and also I have now a final agreement that was signed by Corrections and has some recital changes, but no material changes to the terms of the contract, which is they're buying the device from us as is, no warranty, for the same price that we paid for it. So I'll give Mr. Hanson a copy of the final agreement so it can be linked to the minutes of the agenda, and then the final version for you to sign, the clerk has for you to sign today.
Thank you.
Yep.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agreement. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5M, a subscription agreement with CoStar Realty Information Incorporated for national property market data for the County Assessor Register of Deeds. The county shall pay $430 a month.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Grimm with the Lancaster County Assessor Register of Deeds. What CoStar is a web-based data repository of commercial properties. It's nationwide. As Lancaster grows and we need to get a little bit more information on unique properties, it would be available for us to grow as we continue to meet the needs of some of these unique properties. What we currently do is we will use anywhere from about 5 to 10 free web-based repositories of data that isn't quite filling our needs, and it's very time-consuming to do the informational research that's required. So what this is basically it's a one-stop shopping center where you can get all of the information in one place, and it's more information. In that essence of us saving time, what we then would do is we would be able to use the time that we save there, do more analysis with the data that we receive. As we do this, what will happen is our values will get better. We will have better equalization throughout the county. At the end of this one-year subscription, what we will do is in April, we will go through and do a review on it just to make sure that everything is what we think it is. I have personal experience with CoStar and have used it in another county, and I can say it's worth every penny.
Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
And you use comparable counties.
I'm sorry?
And when you get the information, you're using comparable counties.
Yes, what the information is, it's nationwide, but what we will typically do is try to use the information within, it's kind of a case-by-case basis, how we would use it. If it's information that's within Lincoln that's unique to Lincoln, then we would use that to build the models. If it's something that is a little bit more unique where we may need to go to Omaha area to get some of the information there, then we would use that. If it's even more unique than that, we would go to, say, Kansas City, Minneapolis area,
Okay,
and
that's
that
what-
information would be available.
That's what I was interested in knowing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. I see no further discussion. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5N, a grant contract with the Great Plains Gaming Project to promote its Great Plains Game Festival, an amount not to exceed $5,000 from the Visitors Promotion Fund.
These promotion funds are to help draw attention to these events and help them advertise in areas outside the city and have an impact on drawing people to our community. This is just another opportunity, and I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5O, submission of documents to the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission related to a City of Lincoln right-of-way vacation near the intersection of West Pioneers Boulevard and South First Street.
And we've been briefed on this by the planning committee or planning commission, and so I will move approval of the submission.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just say, for those who haven't driven in this area, there is a lot of dirt flying right now on both the east and west side of the highway there for houses,
Yeah.
townhomes, apartments. There's my son was playing baseball over at the right field last night, and it's amazing the amount of work, which we need more housing in Lincoln. Obviously, this isn't going to do much to help with that, but wanted to make a point of that area and
It'll
the
help some.
development that's happening there.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5P, an agreement with JEO Consulting Group Incorporated for structural engineering services related to bridges in Lancaster County at the request of the county engineer. The cost of the county is not to exceed $40,000.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. You may or may not be aware that there is an additional certification for structural engineers, and you do have to have a master's degree and then take a additional test in addition to having your civil engineering degree and your PE in order to be a licensed structural engineer. We do not have that specialty on staff, although we do have a structural engineer. There are times for our bridges that we need a more specialized, succinct opinion and what we should do with a particular bridge at a particular point in time. And so this is the contract with JEO Consulting Group. They do have a licensed structural engineer on staff who has been very beneficial to our team in augmenting our services.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5Q, a recommendation from the county engineer to award and execute a sole source purchase order to Master Tech Truck and Equipment for a 2022 Dodge Ram truck in the amount of $224,942.
Good morning, Ron Bohati with Lancaster County Engineering.
Ed Lawman, Lancaster County Facility Manager.
So we've experienced a lot of repairs this year. Some of them have taken longer than we expected. This is one of those trucks. This bed on this truck is actually on its second chassis. We've had it since late 2011, and it's really at the end of its useful life. part of the subframe is rusting out. You can kind of see around the edge of the box. There's a lot of deterioration, and it's in the shop again now. So currently what we are using is one of our older Dodges that we outfitted with the sign stand on it, and it's making it very difficult for the sign technician to really get their job done, and we can't reach the lights that are up above. So the reason for the sole source agreement is we were able to find a truck that is built, ready, that we could probably have here in about 2 weeks, and we were able to get all that documentation to us and through purchasing to get that purchase to you today.
It's funny, because I thought you said you could have the truck in 2 weeks, Ron. I mean, that's not our typical story.
Right. It's not the typical
It's
story.
not, and that's the reason for the sole source instead of the entire bid process. And I did check with many vendors, and most of them are, 14 to 18 months out for the chassis.
Yeah, and so, and this would allow us to have the right piece of equipment to allow these individuals to do their job effectively
And safely.
I would say, so. Yeah, I move approval.
And I'll second that, yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5R, recommendation from county engineering to award and execute a purchase order to Rose Equipment for Simline mastic machine in the amount of $73,163.
So a mastic machine is the machine that puts the larger material on the asphalt road. So if you have little bumps in the road, we'll actually go out there and it can kind of seal some of that up. In the last couple of years, we've actually rented the machine from the city of Lincoln, and they're utilizing theirs more. We have an existing contract with Rose to rent this machine, and we were able to work with them in purchasing to take that rental and put it towards the price of the machine. So we're using the money that we spent on the rental towards it. And they also have this machine in stock, and it should be here within the next week if you approve it.
Again, short term.
Yes,
Yeah,
we've
that's
been
great.
working very hard to get these contracts
That's
ready to
great.
go.
So it's more beneficial to us to own the equipment than to have the contract to rent it.
Yeah,
because-
and this machine has a larger volume of material, so it'll fit our needs better for what we need out in the county, rather than a smaller machine that would be for municipalities.
And next year, we won't have a rental fee.
Yes.
Well, and I was gonna follow up with that, then, this is still in your budget.
Yes.
That's correct. Got that, so, yes, if we want to be owners instead of renters, I'll go with you on that, I will move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 5S, a recommendation from county engineer to award and execute purchase order to Murphy Tractor and Equipment for a felling triple axle trailer in the amount of $103,079.88.
I apologize for this picture. It didn't come out quite like I needed it to on there, but this is actually for 2 of these trailers. These trailers will be used behind our dump trucks to mobilize equipment, the skid steers, the track loaders, wheel loaders, that type of equipment. Right now, the trailers we have are just double axle, and they're not really adequate to haul some of the equipment as everything has got larger and heavier over the last several years.
Well, I guess I just have a question. Together with the last 3, we've had $401,000. Okay, is that also in the budget?
Yes.
And I did just open the requisition form, and it does say 2, although our agenda does says A.
Mm-hmm.
I will move approval to buy 2 felling triple axle trailers.
Yep, I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have copies of your photos? Thank you. Commissioners, that brings us to item 5T, contracts with the following to provide the annual supply of traffic and custom signs. The cost of the county is not to exceed $50,000 for all contracts. They are to Cornhusker State Industries, Department of Corrections, Lytle Enterprises of Ohio, and Vulcan Incorporated, Vulcan Signs, Vulcan Aluminum.
Move approval of T.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Please call the roll. Oh, we have a
Sorry.
comment here.
Sorry, we're having a sidebar on who should talk about the sign. So this is for our annual quantity of signs. You did just approve the purchase of a sign truck. You know that song, signs, everywhere signs, right? And we kind of all laugh at it. But the reality is Lancaster County has over 14,000 traffic signs that we maintain and keep an inventory of in order to keep the public safe. And so this is for our annual quantity of custom signs.
Thank you. We do, oh,
There's a trivia question for you. 14,000 signs.
Where do you store them?
I moved.
we do have a
On the
motion and a
roads,
second,
hopefully.
so, yeah.
Well, thanks for the question, Commissioner Amundson. They are many placed on the roads. In addition to that, we do keep a set of all signs, not 14,000, but
Okay. Just had to ask
like
that.
road name signs, because we do have some that are stolen at a higher regularity than others. And then if there's a windstorm, and so people don't realize windy days like we had on Sunday, we might lose 50 to 60 signs that we go out and replace under an emergency condition. And so we generally probably have at least $100,000 of signs and sign materials in storage at Lancaster County, so we can be prepared and resilient.
That's what I was just wondering.
Please call the roll.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Amundson. Commissioner Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Commissioners, per your motion earlier, that returns us to item 5E. And I will say earlier, Commissioner Amundson motioned and Commissioner Flowerday seconded item 5E.
Thank you. So we will return back to item 5E. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I would just say that I still agree with our decision. I don't think it's the best decision available, but there's no reason to single out these groups to be exempted from it. So I'm going to vote for these next two motions.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. And then that brings us to items 5F. That I did not have a motion or a second for.
Thank you.
Move approval of 5F.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve 5F. Please call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Schulte,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Commissioners, that brings us to item 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items related to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
We have a new development on public comment. You might notice there is a little screen there that will count down the time. So as you're speaking, in case you wonder where you're at, you will have the same signal that we have.
So put a piece of paper over it?
Well, we still see it and we would still call
Yeah,
it.
we
So
got
good
one over
try,
here,
but,
too.
so if you'd please state your name and sign in there, that would be great.
First of all, I appreciate allowing me to address you, and I address you with all due respect. My name is Brad Reinke. I'm from Lincoln. I'm 68 years old, was taught in a German Lutheran home to respect leaders, elders, parents, and the law. It's unconscionable for me to watch the utter disregard and disrespect for deeply concerned citizen taxpayers who want answers concerning their children and grandchildren's future. It's foreign to watch as myself and other citizens are being dismissed and ignored by public servants for the grave evil that is now upon us. We require you to act responsibly now. In just a short elementary civic lesson, the taxpayers are families or citizens. Taxes are the cost of government. Government does not produce revenue, it only redistributes family revenue.
The family, dad and mom, are the purse. Commissioners are the managers of the purse, or the purse strings, if you will. If a member of a family wants something, the collective family decides, is it good for the family? If yes, the purse can be opened and certain funds made available. And that's the end of the civic lesson. The SOS and many other elected officials, plus lying news media, big tech, global corporations are saying we want status quo as far as elections are concerned. We want to control you. They say more machines, more software, more mail-in votes. Trust us. A large number of the family or the purse or taxpayers oppose opening the purse for more of the same in elections. We don't trust those that want to control us. We also charge you, the purse strings, with the honesty and accuracy of mail-in votes in the county. Those who want to control us will continue destroying our nation if we don't stop them here. Mail-in votes have no chain of custody, no watchful eye to oversee their path, honesty, or integrity. Remember, don't get between me and my children's future. That's not a good place. The cast vote record is so important because it reveals the inner workings of the machines in regards to the local election, both mail-in and precinct voted ballots in each county. Every voted paper ballot is run through a machine, DS200 or 850, and the election becomes a machine election. We hold elected officials like you accountable because you are the balance in powers so necessary to guard this constitutional republic's security regarding elections. Citizens in Nebraska have been denied most CVR requests to this date. We are asking you to provide the motivation for all elected officials to find the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Among other things, one of the most telling indications of manipulation is this line in the cast vote record. That is a normal line. It starts kind of scattered in the first, and then it gets straight as it goes through. This is a fraudulent line. And this was all found by Harvard professor Dr. Doherty on the following pages. So I give you each a copy of this. This is from the work in Pima County, Arizona. We can't give it to you from Nebraska because we don't have it. Thank you for hearing us and now acting with haste to get answers for us. We are watching and waiting. Thank you for attention and action. If you don't believe us, please prove us wrong before you activate a budget. Thank you.
Ken Anderson, in transition from Silver City, Iowa. I am the first of a tag team to read a document that ends with an offer for a resolution that we offer to you. This document is written in first person by Larry Ortega, a retired United States military fighter pilot. And references an algorithm that I wonder, yes, that we refer to that curve as an algorithm in this, but that curve only fits one state, but it fits every county in this state, and that'll come up as a subject here in a moment. But the purpose of this strategy is to help counties to work with both their unicameral legislators and county election officials to stop using electronic machines and begin a manual paper count ballot election system with valid identification in the state of Nebraska. Legally, counties are responsible for the administration and execution of elections in Nebraska. They can and must decide how they want to do it within limits of our laws. Our goal is to help every county in the state. It is not our role to tell counties what to do. We only suggest and help. Nothing here is a mandate, but many of our suggestions have a strong history of hard knocks. Don't be afraid to ask us why. Our goal is that eventually the rest of the state will see how well it is working and how inexpensive it is, and they will want to convert. We are proposing a set of rules that the counties could adopt to help hold down expenses as well as training information that can help election workers to both be high-quality poll workers and vote counters. Only the county election officials can decide how this will work in their county. The 2020 election steal in Nebraska was a shock to us and virtually every Nebraskan we've explained it to, with a detailed explanation of what has been found and the complete lack of interest by our current political leadership. There was no surprise among the GOP delegates that took down the current establishment in July of 2022 during the Nebraska GOP convention that it was time for them to go. It was also not a surprise to enter the GOP headquarters after the convention last month, and I'm not sure what the date is of this writing, but some time ago, and find that it had been ransacked and the computers and files stripped of their content. How did this cheating happen? Cheating in Nebraska is slightly modified based on Nebraska voting laws compared to other states. Cheaters pick the easiest way. In Nebraska, it requires no ID, nor an in-person visit to change addresses, request a ballot, and submit a ballot through the mail. This makes mail-in voting for another person, although illegal, very easy to do. One need only to look at the public voter rolls to identify registered voters that are not regularly voting, get a copy of a ballot, fill the ballot out for the person, sign the ballot envelope as required by law, and mail it in. There is no law that requires one to compare the signature on the envelope with the signature on file for the person. Anyone can do this, and the county election officials are not allowed to investigate this further. More recently, Nebraska Voter Accuracy Project canvassing volunteers have identified dozens of people that were mailed unrequested ballots, extra ballots, and ballots not sent by their county election officials. In small counties, the officials and the voters knew each other and knew they did not send the ballots. Someone was sending extra ballots, and with extra ballots, other people or organizations were voting them in the method described. What can a county election official do? This is not an obvious cheat, and it is extremely hard to detect without contacting each and every voter in the county. But there was something the cheaters tried to do that didn't quite work right. They tried to cover the cheat up. They couldn't figure out how to cheat and not end up with wild statistics like 100% of 39-year-olds, but 35% of 38-year-olds, 38% of 40-year-olds, and so on. Pick any of the ages. If you didn't pick the ages of the people you were going to cheat with, you might end up with some severe age skews that might look weird if anyone were going to check.
Wayne Smith. This was first noticed by a statistician studying census data with his high school math students. In July 2021, he came to Omaha and presented his findings to the Liberty Ladies. His shocking data forced us to get off the couch and begin the mathematical review of the Nebraska election. He proved mathematically that there was cheating in every single county in Nebraska. He found that there was cheating in every state in the country. We reproduced the data and compared Nebraska data to Ohio data. Yes, the Nebraska curve works in every county in Nebraska, but none of the counties in Ohio. And the county curve, or the Ohio curve, works in every county in Ohio, but none in Nebraska. It was a national cheat done state by state. most notably with mail-in ballots and a combination of other cheating based on local election laws. An explanation of how we detected cheating in Nebraska can be found at the website at this particular point. Once you understand the cheat, you can see the chart for your county at the website included at this point in the handout. Thought your county was different? You can't tell when someone is illegally mailing in or drop boxing unauthorized ballots. It's not your clerk's fault. Another challenge is that cheating that may occur in the larger counties in great numbers using different methods is most likely not happening, or not happening as much in smaller counties. None of the cheat methods that we have discovered require election official involvement, although in some states they did get involved. The bottom line is that smaller counties can't control the bigger counties. The smaller counties can control only themselves. If 90 of the 93 counties in Nebraska begin to do something with how they run elections, the other 3 will follow. The challenges listed below have all been found in other states or in Nebraska. Just because one method isn't happening here in a widespread way doesn't mean it isn't happening. Also, when people in other states cheat in national elections, they cancel our votes. This is why we have to lead the change we want in others. We need to have other states change as well if we want our votes to count. This is a description of how cheaters think and how they operate. It is not the way we think here in Nebraska. We often don't even think about it. We need to be able to foil them no matter their approach to cheating. This includes a description to educate our people involved in the voting process in Nebraska.
Thank you for returning the pen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Roger Pressler. Why a county voting resolution and why we recommend that we do use a resolution. We have included the voting resolution graph for you to mark up and vote on by the county commissioners, the election commission, and the county GOP. It covers issues within the 20 and the 22 elections and why changes are required. Some of the strongest parts of the resolution in the 20 and 22 election were fraudulent. A few paragraphs above, we explain that Nebraska counties experienced the fraud and was not detected by the election staff. It wasn't their fault. It was simply too complex of a fraud. What does one do when there's a fraudulent election? There is plenty of precedents. It requires county to simply state and understand to their election that their own election was fraudulent, and until the election process changes, it continues. And we understand that fraudulent elections have to be repaired. The law that forms the basis of the response is in Supreme Court case in 1878, Throckmorton versus United States. In it, it decided that anything that is found to be fraudulent and everything from that election on is obligated. This has come in many times in the history of the legal issues concerning elections. Obligated is a legal term that means everyone is unelected, and anyone who is holding that office and all their office decisions are reversed from the time of the fraudulent election. Think about it. Is it fair that someone cheats and their votes can change and initiate and should continue to stand? Obviously not. This has a huge implication, and as it should. When people are illegally voted into office, their repair method is why we should be included in our recommendation of the resolution. It's not as bad as it sounds. Check out the next section and understand it better. Why not just accept a fraudulent election of 2020-22? Fix it going forward. We will fix the elections of Nebraska going forward. This is a critical reason for counties not to accept the 2022 election, as they have been found to be fraudulent. The 2022 election steal, as described, occurred in all counties in Nebraska. All counties should show anomalies that statistically percent of the registered voters of age curve for every county statistically correlates with the Douglas, Lancaster, and Sarpy County curves with 90% correlation. This means on an average, every county had statistically similar percent registered voters by age. This was also done in Ohio, as expressed earlier, and statistically there was a 90% statistical change similar to Nebraska. Mathematically, it is impossible to do this without someone doing something or someone artificially changing the vote by age in every county. We can provide you with detailed explanation. Although you do not have a working knowledge of statistics, any high school math teacher can provide that or ask us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tara Toms. So what? A few of the wrong people ended up in office in Nebraska. Who orchestrated this? Why did they let some people in and others not? Did you know that this was one of the worst 2 years in the history of Nebraska legislature for getting laws passed due to a virtual stop of legislation by liberal legislatures? Did you know that in the cities of Lincoln and Omaha, they had extremely severe mask laws, business open laws, and vaccination laws, all directed by people elected in this election? We had our schools taken over at this time with ridiculous policies regarding gender and race by people due to officials elected in this election that provided critical votes. Did you know that in a state with a vast majority of Republican and conservative independent voters, that in the last 4 years we have elected over 900 Democrats into public office? These challenges include the issues that we've had with this presidency. In the last 2.5 years, we've had record inflation, economic and market collapses, the Afghanistan withdrawal, the selection of Ketanji Brown for the Supreme Court, the Hunter Biden scandal, the release of proof that the president was taking bribes when vice president, a record crime wave, the growth of the IRS to become the largest group of armed civil servants outside the U.S. military. They say that elections have consequences and stolen elections have catastrophic consequences. These are those catastrophic consequences. Isn't it strange that the Nebraska GOP offices were ransacked after the establishment, led by the previous governor, current senator, and lost control of the GOP at the state convention? Might they have been involved? Why would anyone do this right after the state GOP convention? Are we living in a crooked state? Do we really want to have this type of reputation? Obviation is a start to correcting things. Votes can be taken away after election. The election must be obviated after it's been deemed to be fraudulent. There are only two ways for the state's election to be deemed fraudulent: by the counties that ran elections or the legislature. It takes only two states besides Nebraska to declare their 2020 elections fraudulent. And following the U.S. Constitution, President Biden is no longer president because he will not have the 270 Electoral College votes for election by the Electoral College. In order to do this, enough of the counties in the state must declare their elections fraudulent, or the legislature must declare the election fraudulent. Either works. The counties can do it because they administrate the elections, and they know what happened in their county. The legislature is the final authority on the laws for running of elections for a state, and they can decide that there was fraud. Counties can determine that they don't believe that their county showed up to the vote the way that the statistics show they did, and they can declare their elections fraudulent due to the external sources as previously described in the percentage of registered voters that voted. Here's an opportunity for you as a county to declare your elections fraudulent. It turns out that the election counting machines across the United States, and especially in Nebraska, were tested by only a few certified companies. Except none of these companies completed their certification efforts prior to the election. Thus, the counting machines used nationwide, regardless of the company or state, including Nebraska, were not certified according to the EAC. Thus, both our legislature and our counties that use counting machines can declare their 2020 elections fraudulent, as state and federal law requires certified election tabulating machines. Thank you.
George Omer, Lincoln. When they do declare fraudulence, that county's votes are obviated. This means the county's votes from the election must be removed from the state totals. All elected officials in that county must be removed from office and the election repeated, hopefully using a better method. Also, any decisions or votes from those people's elected are from everything they voted for since the election. Obviously, counties want to be careful about this. They want to work with the counties in their legislative and congressional district to do this simultaneously and to identify the issues that will be involved. Remember, this does not stop the county, city, and state administrators from working. You still can get business and driver's licenses, for example, done. But the very top, the mayors, county commissioners, county clerks, city councils, utility, resource districts, and school boards will be temporarily gone, and their votes and decisions for the last 2 to 4 years will be reversed. This is not the end of the world. Everything still works, and you can re-vote for the things right after the new election for 20 and 22. Or you could delay your declaration in time for the 24 election. Should counties that represent more than 50% of the population in Nebraska do this, the Electoral College voters and their votes should be retracted. Retracting the one Electoral College vote that Nebraska voted for Joe Biden. This, of course, has national ramifications. Also, Senator Ben Sasse would be unelected, and his votes as a senator would now be retracted, possibly changing many federal laws as votes were close in many instances. We think that this may affect Senator Ricketts. All 3 congressmen may have to run again, and a primary could be required for them as well, if the counties declare the primary suspect due to mail-in ballots. Assuming we straighten out our election process, at the end of this voting process, we'd know who we, the people, want to be representing this state at all levels. Comparing election to banks in an analogy, compare the security features included in automatic teller machines, ATMs, developed by the banks, versus the security features included in mailboxes or drop boxes used to submit ballots. The total lack of any security features tells you everything you need to know about how people in power really value your vote. If they really cared and valued your vote, drop boxes would have the following features: cameras, pin pad to submit a ballot, would only accept 1 ballot at a time, provide a printed receipt. It would also display a report showing when the drop box was emptied and how many ballots it contained each time it was emptied. The person emptying the drop box would have to enter a special security code, which would print the current tally of ballots in the drop box. The person would have to double-check the number of ballots matches the tally, then sign the receipt and keep it secure, as well as update the report with the current time, number of ballots, and their signature. The drop box should also print the time and location the ballot was dropped in the envelope, in its envelope. The process and procedures for an election should be at least, or if not more, stringent than what the banks use to manage their ATMs. Since we are talking about banks, consider the amount of money and human resources banks employ full-time to keep their systems secure. They spend billions of dollars each year hiring the best and brightest, investing in the latest security technologies, and even they will be the first to admit that nothing is 100% safe and secure. If anything, thieves keep finding new ways of defrauding banks and stealing money, and the thieves get away with it. If the banking sector can't secure their own banking systems, what makes the people in charge of elections think they can? More technology won't solve election fraud. More transparency, smaller precincts, and committed citizens will.
Hi, I'm Janine Pressler from Lincoln. Excuse me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the registration challenges. And we find that if we don't control and have power over registrations, you have no control over who votes in those elections. These are just some of the things that states are finding as they review their elections. First thing, computerized registration systems can be hacked and changed. Current computerized registration systems need historical registered voters as a not active, allowing to easy change to active when they are deceased or have moved. Fake people can be registered by mail from the same address. Registration can be done remotely through the DMV and other locations and communicated via the internet. DMV records can be hacked and fake people added to the process. There's no need for anyone else, excuse me, to know except the election commissioner and the voter, except by official need, who is registered to vote within a county, what party they are registered to, and what elections they voted in. So records should be kept, and should anyone want to review them, they may review them at the county clerk's office with an appointment scheduled during normal hours, but only for the purpose of reviewing the election process, and they must provide a written report on the results of their review within 90 days. Some of the voting challenges, which is the easiest way to cheat in Nebraska and not be detected. People or machines can be mailed extra ballots since the computerized mailing system is easily hacked. People or machines can mail in votes for other people that are not voting, or they were voting without them knowing about it. People can vote without an ID and can lie about who they are. People can add ballots to the ballot box and there is no record of whose ballot it is. An illegally registered person can be put into the registration system by lacking or sending in false mailed documents. People can be paid in cash or merchandise to vote for a candidate. So let's pay them more to report and to report it. People or machines can mail in votes for fake people without the election officials knowing about it because registration was hacked. People can vote for some of the elderly because some elderly can't speak and some can't think clearly. So the next part is on vote counting challenges, and it starts with a quote. It says, "I consider it completely unimportant who in the party will vote or how. But what is extraordinarily important is this: who will count the votes and how?" That was a statement made by Joseph Stalin, who was the founder of the totalitarian Soviet Union and a murderer of over 6 million people in Russia. and the associated countries of the Soviet Union in the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s and 50s. And some historians estimate up to 60 million. The vote counting machines can have their software or results changed without anyone knowing. People don't compare the number of ballots to the number of signed registered voters that put ballots into the box. We had 4,001 more ballots reported in the county than voters that voted on the voter rolls in Nebraska at the time of the 2020 election. Plain old-fashioned ballot stuffing in small and large counties, Cass County, a smaller county, was the worst with over 800 excessive votes, or ballots, I should say. Vote reporting challenges. In Nebraska, the results reported over television and the web showed the Nebraska U.S. presidential race votes were reported in a very particular manner. First, they came in over 3 days with computers doing the counting. It should have been in 5 hours. Thank you.
My name is Dwayne Rauscher from Lincoln. I wanted to continue on. She talked first about the 95% takes over 3 days to count, but it takes, should take less time, like hours. Secondly, we have a strange response to the total vote count. Normally, as vote counts randomly arrive, there's a major fluctuations on the first of the 10% of the voting count, and they total count hits a winning ratio of more votes only reinforces the result as mathematically predictable. No matter how the winner might be, in Nebraska, for over half of the count, the total vote ratio changed continuously. The total favored one presidential candidate at the beginning, and then as slowly over 10% of the votes, the ratio of the votes changed, and the ratio at that time of the total votes range reached 80% count. This result signs the fraudulent election manufactured results. Do you believe that Nebraska precincts count their votes and then calls each other to get in a percent of the vote at the presidential candidate and reported it in order that the state and the public over 3 days? Normally trend to a final ratio between the winner and the loser, and it stays there from about 15% of the vote count at the end. It is explained to us that the Secretary of State that the news reports were not official results. The obvious counter in the news media gets their data from the same source at the Secretary of State. Why the difference? And why did the Secretary of State not want to investigate the differences? If there is early voting, people can get the vote data from registrants where the voters or hack into the machines and find out, actually guess the number of stats and how much they need to cheat. If there's early tabulation, the results, you can hack into the system or just ask a friend at the office and find out the vote stats and how much they'll need to cheat. Electronic transfers of the vote totals without public record of the vote totals first can be hacked and the results changed. Talking about now a manual vote count process. The following recommendations are just recommendations. Each county must decide what they will do and have attached to the document examples how the manual count variance states. You will find excellent ideas on each of these states and can easily and quickly assemble the rules for your county. You can help to explain we can help explain some of the logics and why people do what they do. But because we're not from the county, we can decide that we'll find what you'd like to do. Probably the best thing is to get 3 people from the county commissioner, and then they can work with them to look at, or to nail down a process that can make voting in your county much safer. The basic law of manual counting, machines are only an option, as clerks may use according to the state law. State statute is section 32-1041. Voting and counting methods and locations authorized, approved, required when the electronic voting systems prohibit. Point number 1 under that statute is the election commission or the county clerk may use optional scanned ballots or voting systems approved by the Secretary of State to allow the registered voter to cast their vote at any election. The election commissioner or the county clerk may use vote counting devices and voting systems approved by the Secretary of State for tabulating the
Sir,
votes
that's your
cast.
5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, I am Laura Rauscher. No electronic voting system shall be used under the Election Act. Number 3, any new voting or counting system shall be approved by the Secretary of State prior to use by an election commissioner or county clerk. The Secretary of State may adopt and promulgate rules and regulations to establish different procedures and locations for voting and counting and counting votes pursuant of the use of any new voting or counting system. The procedure shall be designated to preserve the safety and confidentiality of each vote cast and the secrecy and security of the counting process, to establish security provisions for the prevention of fraud, and to ensure that the election is conducted in a fair manner. May and must are critical legal words. May allows something to happen as a choice. Must requires that something happen. Of course, since the law was written when there was no machines in use, the default option to electronic counting was a historical manual counting of ballots. This was the old way. A new voting or counting system would be if a county were to use a machine from another company other than ES&S, and that is being offered by the Secretary of State. A new machine other than ES&S machines would require Secretary of State approval. Recommended registration process. Voting starts with the registration process. If we cannot control that, anyone can vote in your county. Our recommendations are keep the poll records for each precinct on paper locked up at the county. Registration polls records for each precinct will be removed when new people register and the name is registered and written into the poll listing for each precinct. People can review records for any election with an appointment. Reports on what they find must be distributed to the county election commissioner within 90 days. New people that are registered must show ID with their address on the ID. Only accept IDs that verify citizenship for registration, preferably from Nebraska. After voting, each voter that signed in and voted will be recorded as having voted in that election as part of the record. After 2 elections in a row, the records on every person's historical vote participation will be deleted and not retained. When a person is reported to have died through newspaper article or through Social Security that verifies their age and address, they will be removed immediately from the polls. If people move away and do not vote in 2 elections in a row, they would be removed in the month after the second election they don't vote in. If people move back, they must correct their address in the registration rolls at least 1 week before the election. Registration rolls will be securely transported to the precincts on the day prior to the elections and will be secured. Only paper records of registrations will be sent to the state for filing. Recommended voting process. All voting, with only 2 exceptions, will be live by a person with their ID. All voters will be informed of a $250 reward for the conviction of anyone offering them food, gift cards, cash, or anything of value for their vote. Live voting must be done within 2 weeks of at the county clerk or live in the assigned precinct of the voter. The photo ID must be current and must match the registration and person appearing to vote. There must be an exception for people that have a religious exemption for a photo on their ID. After being identified, the voter will sign in. Poll listings will be kept in groups of registered voters by precinct. Completed ballots will be placed into an envelope for each group of approximately 500 ballots, all from the same precinct, with the list on the outside of the envelope. All completed ballots must be secured for the precincts in the county. They must be kept in a locked box or safe with limited access. Those early ballots will be transferred with the voter rolls on the outside of the envelope to the precinct the night before the election and must be secured.
Victoria Reese. There are 2 exceptions to live voting, military and the handicapped. Military voters will register at the county where their military address and a color copy of their military ID that states their citizenship. Military voters will be on a separate roll for military registered voters. If military voters decide to vote live, they will need to vote at the county. Citizenship will be verified by the military ID color, white, U.S. citizen, blue, non-U.S. citizen. Handicapped citizens can vote, but they must call the clerk for their ballot and must mail in a copy of their ballot request along with a copy of their ID that verifies their address and citizenship. Handicapped persons must be able to request their ballot either via phone or with voice or through an ADA-approved communications device to request the ballot and correctly answer the basic questions, their name, address, and date of birth. The ballot and the ballot envelope will be mailed to the citizen 2 weeks before the election day, and they can return it to the county election office, but it must be received 1 day prior to election day. The handicapped citizen must sign the envelope and mark their selections on their ballot. The handicapped citizens' ballots and envelopes will be placed in their envelopes to be counted at the precinct. Recommend vote counting. This is an example method for manual counting. Attached, we have 3 different states that have their own rules and details on how to manually count votes and discern the intent of voters. Each county has to decide what they would prefer. We can suggest and provide options. Only the county can decide. Each envelope of votes will be checked first to count ballots to make sure if there are the same number of registered voters that voted as there are filled out ballots. If there are not as many ballots as the people that voted, all of the people will be contacted to vote again. This is because someone's ballot was thrown away, accidentally or intentionally. If there are too many ballots, someone stuffed the ballot box. Just because one set of ballots have to be revoted is not the end of the world. Most likely, the one small subset of ballots will not decide any single election. Military votes will be the only votes counted at the county and will only be able to vote for federal, statewide, and county-wide voting as they do not belong to a precinct. All military voters not living and voting in the state must be registered and will compare with the registration rolls.
All votes, with the exception of military votes, will be counted at the precinct. All votes counters must participate in training, preferably scheduled 1 week in advance. Precinct counting will be a live event that any voter and their immediate family members may attend. Viewers will be allowed to get within 1 feet or have a camera view of each vote counter. Viewers will not be able to speak near or interfere with any of the vote counters. We'd also like to ask to have a public hearing in the evening regarding this issue because many people cannot be present during the day. Thank you.
My name is Peggy Sismanik, and I'm continuing with what Victoria just was stating. Tally sheets will be developed for each precinct. The tally sheet will have all of the voting items on the left and a series of small boxes that can hold up to 5 tallies, and the boxes will be arranged in groups of 10 to make counting easy. So maybe you can picture that, how it was going to look. And there is going to be a sample tally sheet, and that is going to be emailed to you. Counts will be done in groups of 3 people that compare vote numbers after every 20 ballots counted to verify accuracy. Errors between the 3 counters will require a recount of the 20 ballots. It is recommended but not required that there be a set of counters for every 500 ballots to be counted. So that would mean it would have to be set up in smaller numbers than, I guess, the precincts that we have here. It is recommended but not required that the counters be randomly selected as in jury duty and to be taken out of subsequent selection pools until all others have had an opportunity to count. Every vote that is counted will be video recorded live as it is counted. The voter's intent will be utilized to identify what and whether a vote was voted. This intent can be through properly marking the ballot, using arrows, erasing errors, or circling names. If the intent is discernible by 2 of the 3 vote counters, it will be used to record the vote, else it will be counted as an as an undervote. Live displays using projectors or TV screens will be available for each of the 3 vote counters per 500 ballots at each precinct. Live displays will be large enough to clearly see the marks on the ballot. If possible, vote counting will be real-time viewable on the web from the county website. Recordings of the vote count will be kept on the county website for 22 months. When the 3 counters cannot agree on the voter's intent, the vote for that one race will not be counted. The issue will be described on the video. The 3 counters' decisions are final. If the total number of votes that are tossed out due to disagreement between the 3 vote counters exceeds 1% of the vote for any one person or item, the removed votes will be recounted by another 3 vote counter team. This second team's decisions are final. The counters will be given reasonable quiet by the audience members, or the audience members that are disruptive will be removed from the room. Recommended vote reporting. At the end of counting, the vote counters will report their totals on a 3-foot tall ballot to be posted on the precinct walls for 30 days. Anyone may and are encouraged to photograph the large wall ballot. A simple summary of the totals in any electronic format can be transferred to the county along with the photo of the totals ballot on the wall for verification. The county will summarize the results from all the precincts and will post the results by precinct by the county totals along with the photos of the ballots on each precinct wall. They will also provide the military voting results for the military as they are added into the county totals. Once all precincts have reported, the county will report the electronic totals for the county to the Secretary of State. Process to change voting within a single county. The Nebraska Voter Accuracy Project will work with the county representatives along with the legislators and the county election commissioners. Our collective goal will be to help the election commissioners set up and organize the registration, voting, counting, and reporting to provide the county a secure election that is free of the reality or perception of fraud. We have also attached a proposed county voting resolution that can be modified by every county for their own use. The voting resolution allows the county commissioners or election commissioners to formally adopt what they believe and what they're going to do about the challenges that we all face. And I just want to have a side note. Earlier, someone mentioned a person that said he could predict every county in every state in the country, and that was Dr. Frank. And there were actually 3 counties he could not predict, and he couldn't figure out why he couldn't get those 3 counties. It was because they didn't have internet access.
Connie Ranke, Lancaster County. We ask you to delay funding till you have a public hearing in the evening when a lot of Lancaster residents can be here to speak and share more. And I'm also asking you to vote on a resolution that I'm going to read right now. As you see on the screen, in Nebraska, in the 2020 election, this shows that we had a fraudulent election. This is mathematical proof of a fraudulent election. 2020 election, we believe that the 2020 and 2022 election violated Article 1 and 2 of the U.S. Constitution, that various secretaries of state illegally circumvented their state legislatures in conducting their elections in multiple ways, including by allowing ballots to be received after November 3rd, 2020. We believe that the substantial election fraud in key metropolitan areas significantly affected the results in 5 key states in favor of Joseph Biden Jr. We reject the certified results of the 2020 presidential election, and we hold that acting President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was not legitimately elected by the people of the United States. We believe that the Nebraska 2020 and 2022 election was also fraudulent, and we recommend that the fraud be recognized and that the election repeated before 2024, and all votes or actions by elected officials be elected in 2020 and 2022 be obviated. We strongly urge all Nebraskans to work to ensure election integrity and to show up to vote in the November 2024. Bring your friends and family, volunteer for your local Republicans, and overwhelm any possible fraud. We believe that voting fraud was perpetrated in Nebraska by mailing excess ballots to voters and then returning excess ballots and voting those ballots for people that are registered but do not normally vote, have moved or passed away. We do not believe that our county election officials were involved, and I repeat that. We do not believe that our county election officials were involved and that they cannot detect this type of fraud. We believe that the Nebraska State Constitution and laws that state the counties are responsible for the administration, including registration, voting processes, ballot management, vote counting, and reporting of their elections. It's the county's responsibility, not the state. Our county should outlaw the use of machines and mail-in voting or online registration. All registration should be in person with a valid photographic ID. and proof of citizenship. All voting should be in person with a valid photo ID that is required or mandated, or is proof of citizenship, such as U.S. birth certificate, nationalization documents, or passport. If Nebraska changes their driver's license laws to require proof of citizenship, not just a sworn oath statement of citizenship, they could be used in the future. The only exception for in-person voting would be military service or incapacitated persons. Military persons must have their ballots mailed to their military work address. Incapacitated persons must be able to request their ballot either via phone, with voice, or through an ADA-approved communication device to request the ballot and correctly answer the basic questions. Both types of mail-in voters must submit a copy of their valid ID with their ballot. Ballot counting should be completely manual, using the vote counting persons selected among registered voters, such as in jury duty. Ballot counting should be done in public at the precinct with web-based video cams receiving and recording each
time.
ballot as counted.
Thank you. And I believe that we've now reached an hour of testimony. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk? And that is our allotted time. Thank you. We may proceed with the announcements.
We have an allotted time for public comment?
Yes.
Where, I'm just curious, maybe I missed that in the, where does it say that?
Yeah, it's in the program. Yeah.
Last sentence of the third full paragraph on the front of the agenda. Public comment period will be limited to 1 hour.
Yep.
Thank you.
Announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a special staff meeting on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, immediately following the Board of Commissioners meeting and department budget hearing in room 112 of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold staff meetings on Thursday, June 29th and Thursday, July 6th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. Lancaster County Board of Commissioners and the Board of Equalization will not hold a meeting on Tuesday, July 4th, Tuesday, July 4th, 2023, due to the holiday. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023, at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 9 a.m. regarding applications for a Class C liquor license for the Shed Wedding Venue LLC at 22500 South 176th Street, Adams, and a corporate manager's liquor license for Courtney Dismeyer. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on LNK TV. LNK TV is available on Allo Channel 2 and Spectrum Channel 1300. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. LNK TV apps are available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Last item I have is adjournment.
Move that we adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Do we have any other comments?
None that should be spoken out loud.
Please call the roll.
Vest.
Thank you for restraint.
Amundsen.
Yes.
Schulte. Flowerday.
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Thank you. 5-0, we are adjourned.